Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. We've been reading from the Madhya Lila, chapter 3, and we shall continue from verse number 126. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. E pad gaye mukund madhur susware shuniya prabhura chitt antare vidhare. This stanza was sung by Mukunda in a very sweet voice, but as soon as Caitanya Mahāprabhu heard this stanza, his mind went to pieces. Verse number 127. Nirveda Vishad Harsha Chapalya Garva Dainya Prabhura Sahita Yuddha Kare Bhava Sainya. The transcendental ecstatic symptoms of disappointment, moroseness, pleasure, restlessness, pride and humility all began to fight like soldiers within the Lord. Purported by his divine grace, Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Harsha is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Harsha is experienced when one finally attains the desired goal of life and consequently becomes very glad. When Harsha is present, the body shivers and one's bodily hairs stand on end. There are perspiration, tears, and an outburst of passion and madness. The mouth becomes swollen and one experiences inertia and illusion. When a person attains his desired object and feels very fortunate, the luster of his body increases because of his own qualities and feelings of greatness. He does not care for anyone else, and this is called garva or pride. In this condition, one utters prayers and does not reply to others' inquiries. Looking at one's own body, concealing one's desires, and not heeding the words of others are symptoms visible in the ecstasy of garva. Verse number 128. Jara jara haila prabhu bhavera prahare bhumite padila shvasa nahika sharire. The entire body of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu began to totter due to the onslaught of various ecstatic symptoms. As a result, he immediately fell to the ground and his breathing almost stopped. Verse number 129. Dekhiya chintita haila yata bhakta gana Ācambite uthe prabhu kariya garjana. Upon seeing the condition of the Lord, all the devotees became very anxious. Then suddenly the Lord got up and began to make thundering sounds. Verse number 130. Bala bala bale nache anande vihvala bujhana na yaya bhava taranga prabala. Upon standing up, the Lord said, go on speaking, go on speaking. Thus he began to dance. Overwhelmed with pleasure, no one could understand the strong waves of this ecstasy. Verse number 131. Nityananda sange bule prabhu ke dharina Ācārya Haridas bule pacheta nachina. Lord Nityananda began to walk with Caitanya Mahāprabhu to see that he would not fall, and Advaita Ācārya and Haridas Thakur followed them dancing. Verse number 132. Eimata prahareka nache prabhu range kabhu harsha kabhu vishada bhavera tarange. In this way the Lord danced for at least 3 hours. Sometimes the symptoms of ecstasy were visible, including pleasure, moroseness, and many other waves of ecstatic emotional love. Verse number 133. Tina dina upavase kariya bhojana uddanda nrityete prabhura haila parishrama. The Lord had been fasting for 3 days, and after that period he took eatable sumptuously. Thus when he danced and jumped high, he became a little fatigued. Verse number 134. Tabuta na jane shrama prema vishtahena Nityananda Mahaprabhu ke Rakhila Dharena. Being fully absorbed in love of Godhead, he would not understand his fatigue, but Nityananda Prabhu, catching him, stopped his dancing. Verse 135. Ācārya Goshani tabhi Rakhila Kirtana Nana Seva Kari Prabhu ke Karaila Shayana. Although the Lord was fatigued, Nityananda Prabhu kept him steady by holding him. At that time, Advaita Ācārya suspended the chanting and by rendering various service to the Lord, made him lie down to take rest. Verse 136. Aimata dasha dina bhojana kirtana eka rupe kari kare prabhura sevana. For 10 continuous days, Advaita Ācārya had held feasting and chanting in the evening. He served the Lord in this way without any change. Verse 137. Prabhate Ācārya dolaya chadana bhakta gana sange aila Shachimata lena. In the morning, Chandrasekhar seated Shachimata in a palanquin and brought her from her house with many devotees. Verse number 138. Nadiya nagrera loka stri balaka vridha sabha loka aila haila sanghata smridha. In this way, all the people of the towns of Nadiya, including all women, boys and old men, came there. Thus the crowd increased. Verse 139. Pratah kritya kari kare nama sankirtana Shachimata lena aila Advaita bhavana. In the morning, after regular duties were completed and the Lord was chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the people accompanied Shachimata to the house of Advaita Ācārya. Verse 140. Shachi age padila Prabhu dandavat hena kandite lagila Shachi kole uttayana. As soon as Mother Shachi appeared on the scene, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell before her like a stick. Mother Shachi began to cry, taking the Lord on her lap. Verse 141. Dunhara darshane dunhe haila vivala kesha na dekhiya Shachi haila vikala. Upon seeing each other, they both became overwhelmed. Seeing the Lord's head without hair, Mother Shachi became greatly agitated. Verse 142. Anga muche mukha chumbe kare nirikshana dekhite na paya ashru bharila nayana. Out of love, she began to caress the body of the Lord. Sometimes she kissed his face and tried to observe him carefully, but because her eyes were filled with tears, she could not see. Verse 143. Kandiya kahena Shachi bachare nimani Vishwarupa samana kariya niturai. Understanding niturai means cruelty. Here, translation, understanding that Lord Chaitanya had accepted the renounced order of life, Shachimata, crying, said to the Lord, "My darling Nimai, do not be cruel like Vishwarupa, your elder brother." Verse 144. Sannyasi haya punaha na dila darshana tumi taiche kaila mor ha ihe marana. Mother Shachi continued, after accepting the renounced order, Vishwarupa never again gave me audience. If you do like him, that will certainly be the death of me. Verse 145. Moving on to verse number 145. Kandiya balena Prabhu shuna mora ai tumara sharira ai mora kichu nai. The Lord replied, "My dear mother, please hear, this body belongs to you. I do not possess anything." Verse 146. Tumara palite deha janma tuma haite koti janme tumar rina na pari shodhite. This body was raised by you and it comes from you. I cannot repay this debt even in millions of births. Verse 147. Jani vana jani kaila yadyapi sannyas tathapi tumhare kabhu nahi be udas. Knowing you unknowingly, I have accepted the renounced order, still I shall never be indifferent to you. Verse 148. Tumi yaha kaha ami tahani rahiba, tumi ye ajna agya kara sehita kripa. My dear mother, wherever you ask me to stay, I shall stay, and whatever you order, I shall execute. Verse 149. Eta bari puna puna kare namaskar, tushta hena ai kole kare bar bar. Saying this, the Lord offered obeisances to his mother again and again, and Mother Shachi, being pleased, took him again and again on her lap. So the final verse for today's reading, verse 150. Tabe aaye laina Ācārya gela abhyantara bhakta gana milite prabhu haila satvara. Then Advaita Ācārya took Mother Shachi within the house. The Lord was immediately ready to meet all the devotees. So we will continue from verse 151 next time onwards. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.